Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Start with the loud salawat, please. To begin our program, we will start with the recitation of the Holy Quran, the divine guidance for all of humanity. I invite Brother Murtaza Naqvi to recite Quran. Salawat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Washamsi wa duhaha. والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. صدق الله العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والليل إذا يغشى والنهار إذا تجلى وما خلق الذكر والأنثى إن سعيكم لشتى فأما من واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Jazakallah Murtaza for that beautiful recitation. May the words of the Quran bring light to our hearts and guidance to our lives. I now invite Brother Saqlain Khazmi to come forward and recite Salam. Salawat.
सलावत बर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्ली अला सलाम से पहले चंद अशार पेश करता हूँ कि वफ़ा के पैक इजाज़त मौलाना कि वफ़ा के पैकर नए सवेरों का नूर बनकर पयाम लाए। वफ़ा के पैकर नए सवेरों का नूर बनकर पयाम लाए। जहाने जुल्मत की वहशतों पर उजाले बनकर सलाम लाए। فضا میں بکھرے ہوئے تقدس کے پھول ہر سو مہک رہے ہیں. بہار کیسی یہ دشت ویراں میں سبت خیر انعام لائے. اور حریم حق کے محافظ و جان نثار لشکر سلام تم پر. بھئی جلا کے اپنے لہو سے ایسا چراغ دیں پر دوام لائے. اور کمال اوج سنا پہ جا کر فراز دیں کو دوام بخشے. بھئی صراط عشق و وفا کا ثقلین کوئی تو ایسا امام لائے. کوئی تو ایسا امام لائے. ایک صلوات پر محمد سلام پیش کرتا ہوں امام کی بارگاہ میں کہ کربلا کے درس نے دی ایسی پہچان حسین. کربلا کے درس نے دی ایسی پہچان حسین. ہم نے سینے میں جلالی شمع عرفان حسین. کربلا کے درس نے دی ایسی پہچان حسین. بھئی ہم نے سینے میں جلالی شمع عرفان حسین. حق شناسائی عطا کی یوں علی کے لال نے. بھئی اب صدا ہوتے رہیں گے ہم تو قربان حسین. حق شناسائی عطا کی یوں علی کے لال نے. اب صدا ہوتے رہیں گے ہم تو قربان حسین. اور سر کبھی جھکتا نہیں ہے اب کسی دربار میں. بھئی کم نہیں ہے مومنوں پر یہ جو احسان حسین. سر کبھی جھکتا نہیں ہے اب کسی دربار میں. بھئی کم نہیں ہے مومنوں پہ یہ جو احسان حسین. اور چمکا نور حق جب گل کیے شہ نے چراغ. اور چمکا نور حق جب گل کیے شہ نے چراغ. بھئی کس قدر تھے با وفا با ظرف یاران حسین. کس قدر تھے کس قدر تھے با وفا با ظرف یاران حسین. اور ایک درے سبت نبی کی خاک روبی کے طفیل. شعر سنیے گا کہ ایک درے سبت نبی کی خاک روبی کے طفیل. بھئی بن گئے لاکھوں ملائک آج دربان حسین. بن گئے لاکھوں ملائک آج دربان حسین. اور مل ہی جاتی شیخ کو فردوس دشت نینوا. مل ہی جاتی شیخ کو فردوس دشت نینوا. بھئی کربلا کو وہ مگر سمجھا بیابان حسین. کربلا کو وہ مگر سمجھا بیابان حسین. اور مسکراہٹ ایک کم سن کی بروز حشر تک. مسکراہٹ ایک کم سن کی بروز حشر تک. بھئی بن گئی ہے یہ بھی کیسی ایک پہچان حسین. بن گئی ہے یہ بھی کیسی ایک پہچان حسین. اور مقترض ہے کہ حشر تک ثقلین اشک خون کہیں گے داستاں. حشر تک ثقلین اشک خون کہیں گے داستاں. ارے کیسے کیسے کربلا میں نکلے ارمان حسین. کیسے کیسے کربلا میں نکلے ارمان حسین. اور کربلا کے درس نے دی ایسی پہچان حسین. ہم نے سینے میں جلالی شمع عرفان حسین. صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد.
MashaAllah, thank you, Brother Saklan. Thank you for the words of poetry. May these poetry words stick to our hearts and increase the love of the Ahlul Bayt. Let us all now invite Brother Ali Abbas Naqvi for Marsiya with loud salawat.
نعرہ صلوات. ایک روپائی پیش ارے شبیر کی غربت پہ رونے کے واسطے شبیر کی غربت پہ رونے کے واسطے زہرا نے بیٹی مانگ لی پروردگار سے زہرا نے بیٹی مانگ لے تیسرا چوتھا مصرع دیگار اور بنتے علی کی جرأت و ہمت تو دیکھیے اور نسل یزید کاٹ دے چادر کی دھار سے شبیر کی غربت پہ رونے کے واسطے اور بنتے علی کی جرأت و ہمت تو دیکھیے نسل یزید کاٹ دے چادر کی دھار سے شبیر کی غربت پہ نیا سلام ہے چندہ شاہ سماعت فرمائیے. ارم سرسوی صاحب کا یہ کلام ہے. درود پڑھ دیں محمد و آل محمد. ارے جتنے غم حیات اٹھائے حسین نے جتنے غم حیات اٹھائے حسین مصرع پیش ہے. جتنے غم حیات اٹھائے حسین نے ارے اتنے ہی دل میں حوصلے پائے حسین نے اتنے ہی دل میں حوصلے
پائے
حسین. اور ایک اور مطلب پیش ہے. ارے انکار کے وہ ہاتھ دکھائے حسین
نے
انکار کے وہ ہاتھ دکھائے حسین نے. ارے بیعت کے سب چراغ بجھائے حسین
نے
جتنے غم حیات اٹھا. اور شعر پیش ہے. حسین
نے
ارے اسلام کو نکھار دیا کر بلا کے بعد. اسلام کو نکھار دیا کر بلا کے بعد. ارے زینب کے عشق اور عزائے حسین نے جتنے غم حیات اٹھا. دو شعر اور مقطع سے پہلے.
حسین نے
ارے گھبرا کہ انبیاء بھی جہاں پیچھے ہٹ گئے. گھبرا کے انبیاء بھی جہاں پیچھے ہٹ گئے. ارے اپنے قدم وہاں بھی جمائے حسین نے جتنے غم حیات اٹھائے حسین
نے
ارے دین محمدی تیری قسمت کہ میں نثار. دین محمدی تیری قسمت کے میں نثار. ارے تیرے تمام ناز اٹھائے حسین
نے
جتنے غم حیات. آخری شعر پیش حسین
نے
ارے خوشبو سے ان گلوں کی مہکتا ہے
آسمان.
خوشبو سے ان گلوں کے مہکتا ہے آسمان. ارے جو عرض کربلا پا کھلائے حسین نے جتنے غم حیات. سورہ فاتحہ. عابد کو جب یزید سے بابا کا سر سر کیا ملا کہ مرہم زخم جگر ملا مدت کے بعد باپ کے سر سے پسر ملا ارے ماہ سفر میں شام سے حکم سفر ملا ماہ سفر میں شام سے حکم سفر ملا ارے دیکھا جو اہل بیت نے فرق جناب کو ارے تاروں نے آ کے گھیر لیا ماہتاب ارے تاروں نے آ کے گھیر لیا ماہتاب ارے بہنوں نے بار بار لیا گود میں وہ سر زینب نے ہونٹ رکھ دیے بھائی کے ہونٹ پر ارے دریا بہا کے عشق کے بولی وہ ارے بھیا پھری ہے آپ کی ہم شیر در بدر بھیا پھری ہے آپ کی ہم شیر در ارے جس روز سے جدا میں ہوئی دم سے آپ کے ارے نیزوں سے پشت زخمی ہے دل غم سے آپ کے نیزوں سے پشت زخمی ہے دل غم سے آپ کے ارے بھیا ہماری تم کو خبر ہے کہ یا نہیں بھیا ہمارے سر سے ردائیں اتار لی بھیا تمہاری بہن یہاں رسی میں بندھی ارے بھیا تمہاری بیٹی کے ہیں سیلیاں لگیں بھیا تمہاری بیٹی کے ہیں سیلیاں لگیں خندہ ہمارے حال پا اس دم شریر ہے ارے بھیا ہم ایک رسی میں 12 اسیر ہیں ارے 10واں بھی 20واں بھی ہوا قید ہی میں ارے بھیا تمہارا فاتحہ بھی ہم نہ کر نے پا کتنا کہا کہ یہاں کوئی بھائی کے سر کو لائے ارے پر کیا شقاوت ان کی یہ قہر تمہیں سنا ارے جب فاتحہ کا آپ کے ہم نام لیتے ہیں پانی بھی اس دن آپ کو یہ ناری نہ دیتے ارے پانی بھی اس دن ہم کو یہ ناری نہ
دیتے ہیں.
ارے روئی یہ بین کر کے جو ہی بنتے
مرتضیٰ
لکھا ہے تھر تھرا گیا فرق شہ
خدا
پیدا ہوئی گلوئے بریدہ سے یہ
صدا
زینب خاموش باش کے اب عرش ہل
گیا.
ارے اب یہ بتاؤ شاہ ولایت کے واسطے ارے کچھ بدعا تو کی نہیں امت کے واسطے. ارے زینب سے کہہ رہا تھا یہ فرق شہ خدا ناگاہ آئے حضرت عابد برہن نہ پا زینب سے ہاتھ باندھ کے بولے کہ میں
فدا.
ارے اماں میری کہاں ہے بتاؤ پائے
خدا.
ارے سب ہیں یہاں پر آہا میری جان
جاتی ہے.
ارے بانوں کے رونے کی نہیں آواز
آتی ہے.
ارے گھبرا گئی یہ سنتے ہی زینب بسات
فغان
ڈھونڈا ہر ایک سمت کو با چشم خون فشاں دیکھا سکینہ بالی کا نکلا تھا دام
جہاں.
ارے وہاں غش میں تھی پڑی ہوئی بانو
ناتواں.
ارے سینہ ہے چاک چاک تو دل درد مند
ہے.
ارے ہے سکینہ جان کا نوحہ بلند ہے سکینہ جان کا نوحہ آخری دو من ارے بھاوج پا آ کے گر پڑی زینب بچاش میں چھاتی سے سر لگا کے پکاری وہ نو رونا تو ہے نصیبوں میں اے بھابی عمر بھر. ارے سر آیا ہے حسین کا کچھ ہے تمہیں
خبر.
سر آیا ہے حسین کا کچھ
ہے
تمہیں
خبر.
ارے اٹھو کہ چھوٹا قید سے کون با امام
کا.
ارے ماتم کرو حسین علیہ السلام
کا.
ماتم کرو حسین علیہ السلام
کا.
آخر چلے مزار سکینہ پنو آئے سرے پدر لیے سجاد بے ناگے ہوا قریب لحد جس گڑی گزر تڑپا پسر کی گود میں سبتے نبی
कसर
तड़पा पिसर की गोद में सिबते नबी।
कसर
अरे वो आह की के सीनाए सजाद फट
गया।
अरे तावीज़ कब्र से सर सरवर लिपट
कर
आबिद को जब यजीद से
Thank you for the powerful marsiya that reminds us of the sacrifices made in Karbala. The brother-in-law of Sister Fani's Qazilbash, Sayyid Jamal Nasir Zaidi, son of Sayyid Ashfaq Hussain Zaidi, has passed away in Karachi today. Namaz al-Wahshat is requested by all of you, and it is requested of you to please recite Surah Fatiha. Tonight, Friday, the 23rd, there will be an English Majalis with the topic of mental fitness for American Muslims by Dr. Shahzad Ali Naqvi. Tomorrow night, Saturday, the 24th, there will be a half English, half Urdu Majalis with the topic of helpers and blockers for the Imam, of the Imam. Also as a reminder, on Sunday, the day of Arba'in, the day of Imam Hussein's Arba'in, there will be the annual Chehlum Julus at 42 and 28th Main Street, Flushing, Queens, at 1 p.m. beginning with the Dhuhran prayers. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Shahzad Ali Naqvi to the member. Please recite aloud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المحسومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين أما بعد قال الله في القرآن الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر صلوات. Today's topic is mental fitness for American Muslims. This topic has twin focus. One is mental fitness. Mental fitness is different than mental health. So the first level of focus that makes it different than mental health is that mental fitness is a subcategory of mental health. Mental health is broad health, just as you will consider physical health as a broad subject. Similarly, mental health is a broad subject. Mental fitness is a smaller category, a subcategory within that broad field. Mental fitness specifically deals with something known as mental fortitude and psychological resilience, which I will explain in a minute. The other part that makes this topic relevant but also very limited, because the audience for this topic is American Muslims. And the reason for that is that these topics are usually not discussed. When you are being asked to be the best representative of your religion, at the same time, it brings certain levels of stress upon you because of the conditions that prevail in this world, and also specific to the United States. And there are 4 levels of stresses, or 4 layers of stresses that are your burden today. You may not feel them. You may not be aware of them. You may not be conscious of them. But subconsciously, they affect you. And they affect you in multiple ways. It's not that you are in denial. It's just that you're not aware of that. For example, you are exposed to germs every day, bacteria and viruses. Some make you sick, some your body just fights them off. The point is, there isn't some register, some barometer in your body that's telling you today you got exposed to 62 viruses and 32 bacteria. There isn't. When you get an infection, that's when you find out that you have been exposed. Similarly, on the mental side, on the psychological side, you're not aware of all those things that are impacting you on a daily basis. So that makes it very important to stay in a state of awareness, to understand that what kind of mental fitness challenges you're exposed to. Let me explain mental fitness. I mentioned to you that it has 2 parts. The first part is mental fortitude. What does that mean? Mental fortitude is, think of it as an immune system that is a shield around you that protects you from daily stressors that can destabilize you. So think of it as a shield that surrounds you, that protects you, similar to your immune system, your immunity, daily immunity. It's protecting you from different stresses that are coming your way. The other part, which is psychological resilience, is something different. That applies to that when something bad happens, when an adverse event happens, how quickly and how strongly can you bounce back? You can get back on your feet. So that is similar to immune system when you're sick. Your body heals you, you get back, and you start performing your daily duties. So 2 types. One is a shield that constantly protects you from daily stressors. Second is an inner system that helps you to get back on your feet if something bad happens in your life. These, when you combine these two, and if you have healthy presence of these two things, then you have what's known as healthy mental fitness. Salawat. The way we will approach that is what Eurocentric or Western model of psychology is telling you on how to act and what affects you, and comparing that to what Islam is telling you. And a natural question arises here. Why should they be different? Aren't we all humans? If a stress is affecting me, shouldn't it be affecting another person? And also, the question is, what's so special about Islam? What does this has to do with Islam, in fact? You know, psychology, if you're talking about mental fitness, shouldn't mental fitness apply to everyone? Well, the point is, if you think about what the underlying aims and goals of a society are, and for example, what's known as Eurocentric psychology, and this is not my term. A book was written recently, I think it's Black Mental Health. It's on, I actually have the name. Dr. Walker is the one, she's a Houston professor, and she wrote this book about mental health challenges for African Americans. In that, she mentioned that how Eurocentric psychology, Eurocentric model affects African Americans. Similarly, your values are the ones that determine what will affect you as a stressor and what will give you strength. So these are two very different models. Western model, which is based on what's known as hedonism, which is pursuit of happiness. I just want to be happy. I want to pursue happiness. Islamic model, yeah, we want to pursue happiness, but the definition of our happiness is very different, right? Very different definition. So these are the kinds of things that make a difference, and that's why the Islamic concept is very different than the Western model, and which makes this discussion relevant and important for us. Salawat, please. So stressors are those stimuli or external things, or they can even be internal things, your own thoughts, that destabilize you. They affect you, and there are some, for example, environmental stressors. There could be stressors in your environment, there could be stressors in your job, at your job, financial, personal, all of those things, including, as I mentioned, life changes, big events in your life, death, all of those things, they give you stress. And one of the biggest stressors are that take shape within your mind. Within your mind, you will start worrying about something that is not even worth worrying. Even if it is a legitimate worry, you have to approach it from Islamic perspective. In many cases, it's not even a legitimate worry, but you're worried about things. So once we become aware of those things, we can then handle that. I started this speech by saying that there are 4 layers of stressors that are your burdens. In America, what are those 4 layers? Let's understand them. Let's talk about the bottom layer. The bottom layer is known as commonly shared stresses. These stresses impact everyone, regardless of who you are in America. So as long as you're part of the society, you're exposed to them. They're typically financial, so if there's a financial meltdown across the country, everyone gets affected. If there's political turmoil, everyone gets affected. If there is environmental issue, for example, climate change related issue, everyone gets impacted. So it's not just one group that's getting impacted. Everyone is getting impacted with that. If there's flooding, if there is pandemic as COVID, it impacted everyone. And about this category of commonly shared stressors, there's something very unique about it, which is not necessarily shared with other three layers. This level has the highest level of awareness in society. Media covers that, people talk about it, politicians discuss that, newspapers print news about that, journalists get active about this because it impacts majority as well as minorities. It's affecting everyone. So highest state of awareness in your minds is about these things. You will always be worried about that because they are in your consciousness, conscious mind. And they may include, for example, financial issues. For example, if you follow financial markets, you'd be like, oh, something bad is about to happen. What should I do? Starts worrying you. Something bad happening in real estate market. What should I do? Starts affecting you. Those are the kinds of things that we are aware of. And in some ways, we can manage them better simply because we are aware of them. So we plan for them. Second layer of stressors is minorities. So minorities, stressors that are specific to minorities. This is not me saying. This is published research in academic journals. It's published that stressors that minorities are exposed to, they are incremental. They are additional to stressors that other people are exposed to, which can be considered as commonly shared. So second layer applies to minorities. What are those? Some of them are, for example, microaggression. What is microaggression? For example, ethnic jokes, sarcasm, when people say sarcastic remarks, or things that make you uncomfortable. I'm sure that everyone has been exposed to this question, where are you from? I'm from Long Island. No. Where are you from? What do you mean, where are you from? I just told you I'm from Long Island. This is microaggression. Like, I am not asking you where you're from, meaning that Italy, Germany, Norway, doesn't matter. But the thing is that when you get asked that question, it then puts you in a very strange situation. So it's not that you're not proud of your ethnicity or your heritage or your background. It's just that it seems like it's an inappropriate question. Then you have also what's known as avoidance. It's also felt by minorities. If you're part of a minority, so 4 people will be sitting over there, someone comes in, you're the only person from a minority, it's as if you don't exist. And so conversation would take place between 3 people and the person who walked in, but you would be ignored because simply you are a minority. This is another stress that impacts you. Then comes in avoidance. So people or overlooked, the third one, that you are overlooked when it comes to making decisions. No one cares about you, meaning that they may, if it's time for promotion, they may not even think you deserve one or you exist, because other people will be seen as more worthy simply because of their race, their ethnicity, and that is another thing that minorities suffer from. Again, this is not me saying it, this is published research that I am sharing with you. Another is that there'll be attempts made to redefine your identity, meaning redefine your identity. Well, you're expected to be like this. Really? Why am I expected to be like this? Oh, well, because everyone is like that. Well, I don't want to be like that, right? That's another thing that you are exposed to, that you don't fit in because you have to act in a certain way to be mainstream, especially in today's world, when people are working from their home. Why do you need to be something more or change yourself to conform to some identity requirement that someone is imposing on you? There's no need for that. So, and you can see that in African American experience. You can see that, for example, African American dialect, when the way they speak what's so-called American English is, well, you don't speak American English well. How come that requirement doesn't exist for CEOs, tech CEOs who are Indian CEOs who have accents? How come that requirement does not exist for Asian CEOs of tech companies? Why is it, or when people say, oh, you have such a nice French accent, you know, but why can't African American accent be beautiful? You know, think about that. These are the kinds of things that minorities are exposed to, which are more than just normal stressors. What is the third layer? Third layer is you're not just a minority. You are the other M group. You are the other M group, which is Muslim minority. You're Muslims. That is another extra layer of stress. Why? Well, one reason we all know is post 9/11, things changed for Muslims. Muslims were viewed as differently. There's a term for it known as Islamophobia. You all know about that term, and you know that how in many cases there's discrimination that goes on and all those other things, insensitivity that I mentioned that goes on for Muslims in America, in news, if you turn on radio shows or TV shows, the kinds of things people say, and if they're offensive, and you know they're not true. You're a practicing Muslim. You know what your religion teaches you. Of course you know. You know that these people are wrong. They make up all these things. Yeah, okay, someone does something wrong, one person or two people or 10 people, that doesn't define a religion. That doesn't define 1.6 or 7 billion people. Yet, somehow, it's presented in a way that it destabilizes you, and it destabilizes us. And there is a level of awareness that needs to go on to constantly inform the world that this is not right. It's not acceptable that you can take a religion of 1.7 billion people and to start using these terms and putting those labels on people. But there is another reason. Before I go there, actually with Gaza war, it has become even worse. So huge Islamophobia going on everywhere on social media, even on LinkedIn, everywhere you can see, and there's a lot of hatred. And again, inappropriate. Whatever your policies are, whatever you have a right to believe in certain things, you have a right to raise these issues. So that's something that people in America, everyone else, other Americans besides you, they need to understand that as well. Another thing that adds stress of being a Muslim is that you have certain values, and those values cannot be compromised. So other minorities don't have that stress because, for example, if there's what is it known as a happy hour or going to a bar, other minorities will not have a problem, but you will. Why? Because you're Muslim. It's against your values. You can't go. So now that part of social interaction that could have been done, you don't have access to. That adds extra layer of stress for you. And that's fine. We'll talk about that later on, why it's okay. In fact, it's the best thing not to get involved in those things that you can do. So what is the fourth layer? Can anyone guess what would be the fourth layer? Yes, being a Shia. So not just being a Muslim, when you're a Shia Muslim, that adds another level of stress for you. Why? Well, at least one thing is geopolitical situation. It's okay to talk about that openly. Geopolitical situation is such, which obviously with the Gaza war, everything else going on, we understand that it's a little bit harder to be Shia. We just saw in a center, someone posted a social media post about another center in Maryland, and the center had to respond even though they didn't really have to, but they had to respond because it was all made up stuff that was included in that. But those are the kinds of things that you are exposed to, but there are more reasons. Another reason is that I think someone in the salam that you read, you mentioned that Shias do not just accept injustice. We don't accept injustice. That's not in our DNA. That's not in our DNA to accept injustice. So if we will see injustice, we will talk about it. Other community, other Muslim, now, alhamdulillah, with Gaza, we see all Muslims getting together and rising up, and it's a very good thing to stand for those oppressed people. But in general, Shias always lead these things. Social justice is part of our religion, and we can't ignore that. That's who we are. So that can add what you can call an extra level of stress for being in America. So these are the 4 layers of stress that impact us in various ways, and we're not always aware of them. We may be aware of the lowest level of the layer that we can handle because that's how we respond to things, but all of these are putting pressure on you. With the being at the Shia, the 4th level, there's one other thing. It is because, at least in my lifetime since that I remember, since 1990s, that Shias have faced persecution globally. And every month or 2 months, you hear something bad happening in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iraq, an attack here, a terrorist attack here, a terrorist attack there. And at some point, even one event like this can impact the entire community. And if you have a heart, which all of us do because we're trained to have heart, develop this heart in Shias do, you are impacted by that. And you will see the news, and at that point you will walk away from that some bombing happened in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and 60 Shias were martyred there. And at that point you would be, okay, you'll be sad, but you carry that burden with you. You carry that burden with you. And that's another thing that being a Shia, this adds this extra layer of stress. So combine all this, and you are under a lot of stress. And there's nothing wrong with accepting and acknowledging that. That's perfectly fine because there is way out. Please recite salawat. So what happens when we are exposed to these stressors? What happens? What does it do to us? Well, one thing, it starts hurting us. It increases our pain. Again, we may not be conscious of this pain, but it adds to our pain. And how do we cope with that? So we're going to have an open discussion here because I wanted to share these things, and based on, again, my research for about 2 years on this topic. is one way we cope with these stressors is what's known as assimilate or integrate. Somehow we feel that by assimilating, meaning that in certain cases, leaving our values, adopting someone else's values, things will be less painful for us. Our pain will decline. And the book that I mentioned to you about mental health for African Americans, there was evidence. This woman, when she's Dr. Walker, I think her name, or Dr. Wheeler, I think one of those, she started doing this research, and she compiled data on why African American suicides went up a lot. And because suicide, in her words, was not a big thing in African Americans, but somehow since 2016 it has been rising. So she started looking at data, and she discovered what she found out will surprise you. Those people who left their community and started assimilating, integrating, leave their communities, moving into non-African American neighborhoods, sending their kids to non-African American, where African American presence was very low, they were the ones who were more prone to suicide. Meaning that assimilation, when you leave your community and you think that you can be someone else, temporarily, it will reduce your pain. On a temporary basis, it will reduce your pain. At that point, you will feel this is less painful. In the long run, it affects your psychology, and your actual cognitive burden actually goes up. Second thing is losing your identity. Sometimes we cope with things, we say, oh, okay, this religion thing, it's not for me. What do you mean it's not for you? Oh, because I can't handle it, or I can't practice it, or it's too much burden on me. No, it's not. Everyone practices it. It's fine. It's fine. Yes, not only it is not a burden, it is the best relief you can get from all those other burdens that I just mentioned to you. That's the best relief you can get. But we have these leaving your identity, and I will acquire some other identity. Somehow, maybe my emotional pain will go down. So, leaving our culture, leaving our values, recognizing someone else's values as our values is actually not something that will bring down your pain. It will increase your pain as well. So think about this. Recite salawat, please. Third thing we try to cope is to develop self-hatred. We start hating our own people, our own culture, feeling uncomfortable with our own people, with our own culture. How so? Give me some example of that. Well, have you heard the term, it's not a good term, politically incorrect, but I will just say it so that I'm explaining things to you. FOB, right? Have you heard that? Everyone has heard that? What does it mean? Exactly. So we make fun of people, we insult people who are new immigrants from our own community. When you see, and these are the people who just came to America. And what are we making fun of? Oh, they don't know how to use this. Oh, they don't speak proper English. They didn't understand certain cultural thing. No. And we are politically correct about everything else. We know what the boundaries are for other cultures, for other people who impose their boundaries on us. But we don't realize that for our own people, just because they came from India or Pakistan or Iraq or anywhere else, that we're making fun of them. In fact, we should be thanking God, should be thanking Allah that another family moved here, another family that will be here in these idaras, doing azadari, joining you in your prayers and all that. That's how we should be, not trying to make fun of those immigrants. If someone doesn't speak English with the accent that you expect them to speak, so what? So what? I mean, these days, who cares about these things? So if you develop that, because you know why we do that? Why we do that is because when we make fun of the other person for having improper, so-called improper accent, or someone not knowing social cues and things like that, it brings down our pain because we feel we are more fit in this culture than this person is, so somehow we feel better, and that brings down our pain because we feel we are assimilating better than the other party, and that brings down your pain. So this is something we need to be aware of. Very, very importantly, that do not develop hatred for your own community. Everything. You may not like certain things. That's fine. Just help them. Use the word help and love. To love your community, help your community. If someone doesn't know a certain thing, it's not that you make fun of or say things about them. Help them. Other communities that I was exposed to at one point many years ago, when new immigrants were coming in, another community, not Muslim community, from their faith, they would help them. They would teach them English. They would teach them skills so they can get jobs here. They will bring them, and they will help them even in terms of writing checks for their housing and all of those things. And that's the welcoming culture we need to have. And this whole thing about someone doesn't know English and all those things, who cares? And these days there are people who have strong accents. They do a wonderful job in their employment, in their jobs and all that. It's a different world now. So that whole thing needs to end. Salawat, please. Another thing that happens is that we start this social economic climbing, and we feel that if we reach a certain level in American society, then there will be no prejudice against us. So we will be in a strong position, we'll have a lot of money, and this whole thinking is done to, again, bring down our pain, our emotional pain. So no amount of social climbing or economic climbing will eliminate that. Why? Because that's not who you are. You are a Shia Muslim, you have your own identity, no matter how much money you have. To use that reason to make money, that, well, I'll go after more money and I'll climb up social ladder and economic ladder because then I'll be more comfortable, that doesn't work. It will not work, as the African American experience that I mentioned to you showed that it does not work. And another way we cope with things is to develop indifference or numbness, emotional numbness. And you see that a lot of kids when I talk to, and any question you ask, there's always this response, I don't know, I don't care, I don't know, I don't care. That's the whole situation that you deal with, and they're on their phone. Obviously, they're involved with their own social media community. But the thing is that this whole I don't care and I don't know needs to change. The moment you are 14, 15, 13 years old, develop a mental framework, and this is again for young people, that anytime something comes, act as you do care. Yes, you do care. And if you don't know something, figure out a way to know it. And that's what being responsible Muslim is about. And it starts at 13, 14. You hear all these stories about children of Karbala, young children, how responsible they were, what their perspective was. It's these stories that are told to you are not meant so that once you walk out of here, it was just a story for you. No, it has to go deep inside your heart and change you in a way that you can emulate that you can prepare yourself to be Qasim, to be Ali Akbar. You have that kind of mental fortitude that you need and psychological resilience that you need to develop because, again, you are follower of Ahlul Bayt. Salawat, please. So all this emotional suppression, all this bottling up emotions, these are not really good. In this culture, this is the Eurocentric culture in which these things are considered very good. That, hey, you know, I don't share my emotions with anyone. I don't share my details with my parents, you know, whatever's going through. My crisis, life crisis, I'm just going to, no, start sharing. That's not how you should be. Not only because you're a Muslim, but because it's not healthy. It's not healthy. If you have certain things going through in your mind, you gotta share with your parents, with your friends, with your community, with your religious guide. This is the responsibility of Maulana, such as who is sitting back there. They have that. Share your problems, share your ideas, share your concerns with them. And in this community, I'm sure we have several psychologists, psychiatrists everywhere in these communities, and they're available. And especially your friends group, that's the best place to be. Share with your friends, develop those relationships, those friendships with your close network, and then share that. It includes your ideologies. Do not compartmentalize your emotions. Don't say that, well, you know, I don't want to think about this. The moment you say, I don't want to think about this, that means that you're trying to compartmentalize your emotions, and sooner or later, they will come to haunt you. That's not what you want. You want to face them. You want to make sure you can get them on surface and then go and seek some help or resolve it yourself. And Allah has given you enough strength, and if you follow religion, obviously religion gives you that added strength that you need. So avoidance or internalization are never good solutions. Always make sure that you're aware of your mental state. How do you do that? Ask yourself those questions. What is bothering me? Maybe write down. And this is known as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT approach, but that's the Western approach. You can add some columns to that. Why am I thinking something? How is it affecting me? And what does Allah wants me to think about this thing? Is this a real worry that I should have? Is this bigger worry than what Allah expects me to think? You know, those are the kinds of things that you have to start asking those questions when thoughts come. Write them down and then ask yourself that what would be Allah's guidance on this thing. And I think that will be important. Now, as I mentioned to you, that all of these things are compounded. Our positions, our sensitivities, all of these are compounded by the culture that we live in. As I mentioned to you, it's a pleasure-seeking culture, hedonism it's known as, which is that, okay, my happiness will depend upon more pleasure I seek. And what we know is that that's what puts people in drugs, in other things, in bad behaviors. And no, it does not add happiness at all. It does not add any happiness in life. All of those things, if anything, they take away happiness. And everyone knows that, yet the mindset remains because they have been convinced that this is the best way to go. Life is all about seeking more happiness. No, life is about being more responsible. It's being more responsible. It's not about just seeking happiness. Another thing that is the presence of fear in our society, which is, again, another thing about Western society, and you have to be aware of that. What they do is they tell you everything is sold to you because of fear. If this thing happens, then, oh my God, your life is over. No, your life is not over. Even to the point that in elections, you see the standard thing, and I have been through so many elections here, and every election season, one standard statement you will hear is this will be the biggest election of your life. Really? I mean, didn't you just say that about 2020, 2016, 2012? This would be the greatest, most impactful election of your life. And then now you hear that, oh, if you don't elect this candidate, there will be communism in the United States. Or if you don't elect this candidate, there will be dictatorship in the United States. Fear. We neither. It's not going to happen. You know that. So all of that is just fear selling. And similarly, when even from young age, fear starts. Oh, you're not good enough. You don't look good enough. You know, maybe you need to change your nose a little bit. You don't have makeup, or you don't have this, or you're not wearing the right clothes. You don't know the right pop culture references. You haven't seen the right kind of shows. You don't know about certain actors and actresses. You don't know this song? Really? You don't know this song? You know, these are the kinds of things we deal with. Oh, you don't watch that sports? How dare you? You didn't watch football game? Well, no, I didn't. Can we acquire that state of confidence in which you can comfortably say, no, I don't know that pop reference. I don't care and about this because I have more responsible things to do. Yeah, I don't listen to music because it's haram. Be able to say that. Yeah, I watch sports, but it's not the first priority of my life. If I have to, I'll watch it. But if there is some haram element that's going on in that, which these days many sports do, especially all those things, that especially if you're going there and watching it. So no, I will not go there. I'll stay away from this. Why? That's how you're building your mental fitness, by making the right decision, one decision at a time, every day, making the right decision for yourself. And what will be the criteria for making right decision? Allah, Quran, Ahlul Bayt. That's it. Prophet left. These are the only two things Prophet left. And you know why you're so fortunate? You have both of them. That's why you're level 4. That's why you're level 4. You're in layer 4. Layer 3, Quran, they don't benefit from Ahlul Bayt, and it's unfortunate. But look what it does to you. Look who you are and who you have become in this world. It's a miracle. It's a mu'jiza. Always think about that. Keep that mindset. It's a mu'jiza. Once we get our act together, there's nothing we can't do. Nothing. And alhamdulillah, Maraja of our times, in particular, Rehbar and Baniya Rehbar before, they have shown us. They have given us that strength and put an example. Look, this is how it's done. Well, what is it that you can't do? Well, who produces world's third largest number of engineers? Shia country. A Shia country does. You didn't know that, right? No one told you that. A Shia country does. Who has the highest research in sciences and technology in terms of growth in research? A Shia country. No one told you that. Why? Who feels confident in who they are? A Shia country. Who has set the example for everyone else that we don't need to change our values. We don't need to be like anyone else. We're not going to open these bars next to mosques. Go to other countries, go to other so-called Islamic countries, what they're doing. You will go to the airport, just go to the airport, and you will see there'll be azan going on one side and mosque, and a bar open right across each other. That's where your strength, your character strength comes in. No, and once you start doing the right thing, you will see how the universe shapes up for you, because this is Allah's promise. Success is your destiny. Success is your destiny. It's something, it's like a gold mine, and it's next to you, but you're just choosing not to go there. All you have to do is to stick to your own values. That will deliver everything to you. Salawat. So these Taghuti elements have one tool for young people. I want to make sure that you understand this tool that I call the cool tool. And the cool tool is to convince you that this is cool and this is not cool. This is cool and this is not cool. And someone else is imposing that on you, that this is cool, well, you need to act in a certain way. If you don't act in a certain way, then you will be uncool. If you'll be uncool, you will be denied access to this or that. No, you don't have to listen to any of that. You're your own person. And many times, people who feel that they're being unique, they're not actually being unique. Oh, well, I have this humor that I put in on my social media and I get 150 likes. I'm unique. No, you're not. Billions of people are on social media, so if you're getting 100 likes, big deal. Or things like, something when things go viral, some really stupid things go viral. People are impacted by those emotions. And for a Shia, you have to use your mind. You have to use your aql. You have to stay away from those kind of things. No, I don't want to be part of that. That is what makes you cool. That is what makes you unique. Because when everyone is running towards that, you're the one who's showing resilience and you're not going in that direction. Salawat, please. Because you're spending so much time in thinking about this assimilation part, integration part, how can I be someone other than who I am, that you really don't pay attention to what you should be paying attention to. As I mentioned to you, that success is guaranteed to you. It is guaranteed. The ayat that I read when the Majalis began, it says that Allah has chosen this nation to be the best nation. Why? Because you do Amar bil Ma'ruf Nahi Anil Munkar. That's it. You say that you do the right things and you try to stop what's wrong. That is the criteria Allah has chosen for you, and Allah has given you that title in Quran. You are the best nation. No, it doesn't matter what anyone else says, that we are better. And we are the best nation, not because not even because of religion. There are other Muslims also. We're not because of our ethnicity, not because of our color, not because of anything that you can imagine, with the exception of God has said, because you do Amar bil Ma'ruf Nahi Anil Munkar. That's the only criteria. And because we do that, in fact, Imam Hussein, when he was leaving Medina, when he was leaving Medina, he said that my purpose is Amar bil Ma'ruf Nahi Anil Munkar, very clearly. So that is who you are. That is who you are. Now, people are sitting here and they say day in, day out that Prophet was the city of knowledge and Imam Ali was the gateway to it, right? That you hear all the time. Well, how is it that if that is true, if you believe in that approach or that sentence, then why do we not aim at the highest level in education? I'm a professor. A lot of people, young people, come to me. And because I teach sciences, so people come and they ask these kind of questions. So, Professor, I want to study, I want an internship. And what year of college are you in? I'm third year of college, I need an internship. Or I'm just graduating, semester away from graduation. Why do you need an internship? Well, I need an internship so I can then get a job. Okay, you want to get a job after doing bachelor's? Yes. Why? I mean, does your family need you to do that? Is there, no, my father is a doctor, and so why are you working after getting bachelor's? Because, well, if I had gone to medical school, then wait a second. So you're saying that the only pathway available for you for advanced education is if you would have gone to medical school? Why don't you do master's and PhD? Doctorate, well, is that an option? Yes, that's an option. But how would that benefit me? Would I get a better job? No. All these companies that are started these days, all these companies that are started, people who make these multi-million-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, hundreds of billion companies, a lot of them comes out of research that people do during their doctorate, during their PhD. So if we actually believe that Imam Ali alayhi salam is the peak of knowledge, then you are his followers. Where do we need to be? Medical school is not the only thing. There are other types of doctors also. And they actually have even better prospects in the future. But because we're limited in our thinking, we are thinking narrowly because we're allowing others to make decisions for us. We're getting impacted by, oh, okay, this is what statistics is telling me. No. So young people, aspire big things. You are followers of those who never believed in doing small things, all the way from Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam to every prophet. Who were they opposing? Some shepherd? Some shoemaker? Some blacksmith? No. The biggest taghuts of their time. That's what they were opposing. Why? Because they had big ideas. They wanted to change the world. Every one of them, every prophet, every imam changed the world. They don't have small ambitions. Neither should you. It's not about getting a job. It's about being your best that you can be. And that means that when you go to college, when you go to school, you should be the best student possible. It doesn't matter what your age is. If you're older, yes, learn more things, advance, all in the name, keeping that thing in your mind that it's all, you're doing this because you're part of that chain. If you remove yourself from that chain, so there are two things to it. One is a mission, one is action. Some people act a lot, but they don't have the right mission. Mission is only one, Zuhur of Imam. We have to work together as a community, and we have to believe in it. What does it mean to believe in it? When you go to sleep at night, believe in it. Think again and again and again and again till you convince yourself that it will happen. It will happen. And sometimes believe in it, have hope. Why do we think that, oh, well, maybe it's 1,000 years from now? If you're not told when it is, that's the best thing. Why? Because it can be tomorrow, right? It can be tomorrow. Probability is any time now. So you're not told odds that, it could be 1,000 years. No one told you that. Why don't we believe that it can be tomorrow? And why don't we strive hard to make it happen? Well, how do you strive hard? Through education, through work ethic, through ignoring all these cricket matches and football matches. Any age group. And then you say, well, I do this, I don't have time to do other things. Like what? You are wasting your time watching cricket, but do you realize what can I do in imams to help imam? Have you seen how many newspapers there are in the world? Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all of these. Have you seen the kind of stories they put in there about your faith, about your religion, about your people? Do you know the first 100 comments come in? The most liked comments, who they come from? Who? Your enemies. because they're organized, because they're determined. They know that they will go. Even child, 12-year, 14-year-old child will be determined to do something, to say something. Why do we waste our time? Because we are not putting our mission first. Understanding the mission is very easy. Zuhur of Imam, alayhi salam. And that means keep that mission intact at all times, that I have to do something big. Young people, don't go for small things. Make your ambitions higher because Imam needs it. I mean, you see that who are the shuhada? They're not just going and killing some, ordinary people. Who are the shuhada, biggest shuhada? Scientists, big people. Why? Because everyone understands, everyone knows. Enemy knows your strength, and you don't know your strength. Enemy knows that if you develop yourself where you can get. So strive hard, be a responsible person in every way that you can be. And one of the biggest ways you can be is by focusing on education. Salawat. Now about all those stressors, the best thing I wanted to tell you tonight is that yes, all of those stressors exist. But alhamdulillah, they exist. Think of this way. Alhamdulillah, they exist for you. Because if the fourth layer was removed, then you will not have Shia stressors, but then you would also not have Shia beliefs, right? If the third layer was removed, then you would not even be a Muslim. So think about this, that alhamdulillah for those stressors. Why? Because you're in the company of prophets and of imams, because they all had those similar stressors. Think about this, right? They all had those stressors. So you're in their company. It's the best news you can get, and that's your shield. It's the best news you can get. Alhamdulillah, I have a challenge, I have a mission, I have all these stressors, and I'll be fine. Why? Because Allah is with me, and I don't fear anything. No one can put fears in my heart. No one can impact me because Allah is on my side. I have a very clear mission. I'm working for my imam, a very clear mission. And I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my life. I'm not going to pursue things for the sake of whatever, ego. No. I will pursue them for my imam, because that's what Islam is. As I mentioned in my Majalis yesterday, it's taslim and itaat, which means submission. Submission comes in when you surrender every part of your life to Allah, and that's it. And you have been given a goal, and inshallah will be successful. If not here, in this world. And it said that, I think in Dua ahead, I believe that it's towards the end, it says that even if we die, Imam raise us. And I could be mistaken in that, but I just want to make sure that it's one of the du'as I read, that raise us, that even if we're dead. That means that if your mindset is there, and even if death comes before Zuhur, we'll be with Imam one way or another. And if Zuhur happens before death, then mashallah, that's the best thing that can happen. So keep that belief alive at all times. Strive hard. Now, there are certain things that we can do. So this is number one, no fear. Put away, throw away any fear that you have from those four stressors that you have, four layers. Now, we're not worried about anything. And there's a legitimate worry about things like, okay, I have to get a job, I have to pay my bills and all that. These are legitimate worries. But don't be overwhelmed by that, because Allah will support you in those things also. Allah will support you in those things also, as long as you keep your attitude right. Second thing is that you're not there to appease anyone. If you don't necessarily have to assimilate in those things that violate your values. No. You don't have to assimilate in those things that violate your values. You don't. Just say no. Because we fear Allah. Allah's rule apply to us. No other rules. And one of the things is I mentioned about mission and action. So consider 4 scenarios here. 4 scenarios. People who have mission and they act. They are action-oriented people, the best type of people. They understand the mission and they act upon it. So they're accomplishing. Their lives are dedicated to their Imam. Second category, people who are acting, but action-oriented people, but don't have the right mission. So they will just go out, make progress in their careers, and be, the best doctors or the best engineers, best scientists, but they have no relation to the mission. So their lives are essentially not dedicated to helping Imam. They may collect a lot of wealth, they may make big name for themselves, but it has no concept of helping Imam. And then you have another thing is that can-do attitude. You gotta have this can-do attitude, which means that I can do it, I can accomplish big things. And one thing that Shias should have all the time, be bold and courageous at all times. We're bold people. We are not timid. We don't go through life being weak and timid and puny. We are not. We are bold people. We're courageous people. Inshallah, we can, any kind of challenge that comes our way, we can do that. And then last thing is to build relationship. And this is a bigger topic. If I ever get an opportunity to do an Ashra here, this deserves 10 Majalis actually, is relationship building at multiple levels. Building your relationship, number 1, with Allah, number 2, with prophets and imams and Bibi Fatma, and then, and then also Maraja and Rehbar, building your relationship with them, building your relationship with Shohada from these days, building your relationship with yourself, building your relationship with your community and your support structure, your family. These things are important. Again, I don't have time to go over that, but you can, inshallah, if I get another opportunity, I'll be able to bring that to you, and especially for young people. So I want to have a quick discussion on Masaib before we move to that. There is this general understanding, it's not just you, it's all communities in general who are feeling this, that should Masaib be in Urdu or English? And so I wanted to provide some guidance just in general, and feel free to take or not take this guidance. And I will say now switch for a few minutes in Urdu, and inshallah we'll do Masaib then. The guidance is कि आज़ादारी ज़बान की या लैंग्वेज की मोहताज नहीं रही कभी भी. अरबी से फ़ारसी में गई, फ़ारसी से उर्दू में आई, पंजाबी में गई, यू नेम, गुजराती में, हर लैंग्वेज में आज़ादारी हुई है और हो रही है. और अगर हम इसको कंस्ट्रेन करेंगे, इसलिए क्योंकि हम ये सोचते हैं कि हमारा जहन या हमारा दिल जो है वो कि अक्सर लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल होता है कि मज़ा नहीं आया. मज़ा, और मुझे पता है कि मज़ा नहीं आने का मतलब ये नहीं कोई कह रहा, खुदा न खास्ता, कि जिस तरह मज़ा आता है खाना खाने में या किसी चीज़ में. उसका कहने का मकसद ये है कि मेरी लाइफ के जो एक्सपीरियंसेस थे उसके मुताबिक आज़ादारी में ये चीज़ इस तरह होती थी, अब ये डिफरेंट तरीके से हो रही है. मगर बच्चों के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि एक चीज़ मैंने देखी बच्चों में जो मैंने इराक़ के बच्चों में नहीं देखी, जो पाकिस्तान के बच्चों में नहीं देखी, और इन जगहों पे आप जाएं ज़ियारत वगैरह पे आप देखेंगे छोटे छोटे बच्चे भी मजलिस में रोते हैं. छोटे छोटे बच्चे भी मजलिस होती है रोते हैं. तो बच्चे यहाँ पे, young people, I have this message for you. And older people also, I have this message for you also. Soften your heart to the name of, when the name of Imam Hussein comes. You don't need language. You don't need language. इसमें हो रही है या उसमें हो रही है. मसाइब आए तो रोने वाले बन जाओ. ये ना हो कि अंग्रेजी में, क्योंकि बीवी की दुआ ये तो नहीं थी कि मसाइब उर्दू में होंगे या अरबी में होंगे तभी रोना. ये तो नहीं थी ना. अपने दिलों को नरम करें कि जहां इमाम हुसैन का नाम आए गिरिया शुरू हो जाए. और मैंने ये खुद देखा है मैंने कि करबला में आप जाएं या नजफ में जाएं, मजलिस हो रही होती है. कभी कभी फारसी में मजलिस हो रही होती है, आपको पूरी समझ नहीं आ रही है आपको कि क्या हो रहा है. यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट्स बीइंग सेड, येट tears start coming out of your eyes. Why? Because you start crying. You hear the name of Imam Hussein and you start crying. Become that person who cries for Imam Hussein. It doesn't, and all those people who feel whether you're from this side, that side, wilayat side, or this side, if your heart is not soft enough to cry for Imam Hussein, then you need to develop yourself. No matter what majlis, आप उर्दू में हो रही है, अंग्रेजी में हो रही है, जिसमें हो रही है, जहां इमाम हुसैन का नाम आए ऐसे रो. इमाम ने कहा है ना कि ऐसे रो कि जैसे बूढ़ी माँ अपने जवान बेटे के लाशे पे रोती है, ऐसे रो. Cry like that. That is your mandate. That's your mandate. तो शिफात चाहिए है. If you want access, then you need to soften your heart to cry. Try your best to cry no matter what, how old you are, what your orientation is. Just learn to cry and what your age is. Imam Zainul Abidin. We talked about psychological resilience and mental fitness today. Can you imagine another person being exposed to what he was exposed to? Can you even imagine what he experienced in those few days that defined the rest of his life? There are 4 stages of his interaction within those days with Imam Hussein. Think about this. 4 stages of Imam Zainul Abidin's interaction with Imam Hussein. 4 stages. Stage 1, before the day of Ashura. Before the day of Ashura, before he got sick, he saw his father. Imagine how he would have seen him. Imagine how he would have seen him. The atrocities have not started yet. They have not begun yet. Imam Zainul Abidin sees his father. Then what's the next time he sees him? Imam Zainul Abidin is sick. He is in a tent. And that's at the last moment, right before Imam Hussein went for the fight, right before that he returned to the tents. When he came to the tents, he was surrounded by ladies. They were all crying. They encircled him, and now imagine this situation, that their dead bodies of their sons, their brothers, their husbands, but no one is paying attention to them. Everyone is focused on Imam Hussein. Everyone is focused on Imam Hussein. Why? Because they know that he's the last of the Panjatan. He is the last of the Panjatan. Imam Hussein asked Bibi Zainab to take me to Shah-E-Najaf's tent. She takes him. He goes in. At that point, that's the second time that Imam Zainul Abidin's interaction happens with his father. Second time, he rises up on his elbows, sees his father, and he is shocked. It's like, Father, what happened? Why is there blood on your face? Father, why are you wearing these clothes? Imam Sajjad, don't ask what happened. Don't ask what happened. Hazrat Abbas is gone. Ali Akbar is not there. Qasim was not there. Imam is all alone. Imam is all alone at that point. That's the second stage. You want to know what the third stage was when this interaction takes place? Imam Zainul Abidin spends the night outside when the tents were burning, when children were being crushed under horses, when bodies were lined up and horses ran over those bodies from both sides, when babies' chadars were taken away. At that point, Imam Zainul Abidin is now, you can imagine that after that sickness and what happened, now he's realizing what is going on. And then next morning, what does Imam Zainul Abidin see? Well, he sees the head of his father raised on a spear. That's the third interaction. So it starts from the second stage to the third stage. At that point, Imam Zainul Abidin has chains around his neck, around his arms, around his legs, and he's being asked to walk. He's being asked to walk. On one side, he sees front of him, he sees ladies without chadar trying to cover their heads with their hair. And he sees children crying, children falling from camels and dying, being crushed under camel hooves. He sees on one side, and heads are raised of his family members. Heads are raised of his family members. Imam Zainul Abidin. But imagine the kind of mental strength he has when he gives lectures, these lectures in various places throughout Kufa and Sham. And the fourth stage in which he sees his father is when the heads were returned. When the heads were returned, Imam Zainul Abidin sees that this is an Imam who spent his life crying. He cried, "This is what I meant when I said soften your heart. Soften your hearts." Anytime you hear the word Imam Hussain, start crying, because that's what Imam Zainul Abidin did. One day, Minhal, one of his Sahabi, came to his house, and his servant told him that he's not here. Minhal was happy. Where is Imam? He said he went to a park. He said, okay, I will go find him there. At least it's a good thing he's out of this house and he's not crying. He goes there. He sees him sitting on his abba and he's crying. And Minhal says, Imam, I was happy that you left your house. Why are you crying? Imam said, you see that river that's flowing? That river that's flowing, it's reminding me of Karbala, everything. People invited him for a wedding, to go to a wedding, and he said, you know, I will go there, but if you hold a Majalis, then I will go there. Everything, he spent his entire life. Yet, this Imam, he spent his life crying, but you would think that, okay, what is the mental fitness part? He's concerned about you. During his girya, he's writing these prayers for you. For what? For sickness, for your health, for your children, for your parents, for your financial worth, all of those things, for your paying your debts, all of those things he's doing for you. That's mental fitness of this Imam, because he is thinking about you. He was thinking about you, and now it's your responsibility to think about him, to think about his situation. One more thing, I will end these masaib. When butchers of that area, they knew that Imam would come out on the street, they would cover their shops, because Imam used to start crying. Then one day a butcher accidentally left his shop uncovered. Imam started crying. The butcher quickly covered it, came to Imam and said, "Forgive me, Imam, forgive me." Imam asked him, "Can I ask you 3 questions?" Butcher said, "What?" Imam said, "Before you slaughtered this animal, did you give it water?" Butcher said, "Yes, Imam, I did." Question 2, when you slaughtered it, did you use a sharp knife? Butcher said, "Yes, I did." Butcher said, "Yes, I did." Third question, when you slaughtered it, did you make sure that other animals were not watching it? Butcher said, "Yes, Imam, we did that." That's when Imam turned towards Karbala and said, "My father was slaughtered. My father was slaughtered thirsty with a knife that wasn't sharp, and my puppy Zena was watching it." Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf, Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf, Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf, Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf, Hay Shah-E-Najaf, Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf, Hay al-Madad, Hay al-Madad, Shah-E-Najaf. آتی تھی یہ بکا زینب کی ہر جگہ، المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد. کھینچی تھی جب سنا شبیر نے کہا، المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد. پامال جب ہوا شاہ امن کا لال، المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے اصغر کا وہ گلا ہے تیر حرملا، النجف شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے سب پڑھیے جی، ہر موڑ پہ کہا، ہر موڑ پہ کہا، عابد نے حیردا، المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے گھوڑے سے جب گرا، گھوڑے سے جب گرا، عباس باوفا، المدد شاہ-ے-نجف، ہے المدد، ہے المدد، نجف، ہے المدد شاہ. अल्लाह जल की है सदा, आ जाइए हुज्जते खुदा, अलमदद शाहे नजफ हाय अलमदद, शाहे नजफ हाय अलमदद, वर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलवात अल्लाह।
السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا محمد بن عبد الله. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا علي بن أبي طالب يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد والحسن بن والعلي بن محمد الحادي والحسن بن علي العسكري والحجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا من أنصاري والمستشهدين بين يديه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى أبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، ولي وحافظ وقائد وناصر ودليل وعين، حتى تسكنه وارزقته وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. نعرے حیدری.